Hello again, many thanks for choosing us. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Now, negotiations for increment in base pay for the 2023 working year has stalled as government failed to get a quorum to engage agitating labor unions. The unions initially asked government to increase their base pay by 65%. They have reached a compromise of 58%, but government says it can only afford to pay 18% more on their base pay. The latest meeting ended abruptly because some representatives of the side of government did not show up. Despite the setback, the unions say they are willing to give government some more time to prepare and come back to the negotiating table. Michael Ashale spoke to the Deputy General Secretary of the Trade Union Congress, Joshua Ansa.
Where are we now with the negotiations?
Oh, today negotiations did not come on because we didn't form quorum. We weren't able to form quorum. Yes, so the negotiation had been postponed for another date.
But just to give us a sneak peek into what Labour, what your idea was going to be. The last time I heard it was 58%. You had come down from 65. I mean, what were you coming to the meeting with?
Oh no, my brother. We were coming to the meeting to listen to what the government is prepared to offer us. Yes, that was our plan of this meeting.
But the last time they didn't give you any figure. So were you hoping that it would go up now?
That's our hope. But if they don't go up, you don't expect us also to do anything.
But many say you're holding government, you are holding a gun to their head. You have declared a strike on one side. You are refusing to allow your pensions to be part of the negotiations. So how do you expect us to get more money to pay you? You're asking for more, at least for now, 58% more.
58%, I think people do not understand why we're asking for the 60%, for which you account to 58. It's a simple analogy. You see, the base pay by law should be higher than the minimum wage. As I speak to you, the base pay is far, far, far lower than the minimum wage. As I speak to you now, the base pay is 11 cedis, 33 pesos. The minimum wage is 14.88. In bridging the gap, we need about 31.33% to come at par with the base pay. That alone is 31%. So if you are negotiating at this time, there's no way that you accept anything less than 31% plus. Because that will bring you at par to the minimum wage. Then there should be 10% over and above the minimum wage. If you add 10% to that 30-something, it pushes you to 40 plus. And people think that we are just asking for percentage increase with no reason. There are bases for that. If government should even bring our minimum base pay at par with the minimum wage, it's already 31 plus percent. Plus the 10%, 40 plus. And you are already enjoying a COLA of 15%. You add it. There is a relativity of 1.7 that has not been applied for more than since the inception of this base pay. So these are some of the things you need to know before you talk about we are becoming insensitive and this and that and that. Nobody is holding a gun at the head of anybody. No way. We are only negotiating.
So in the last meeting, you also spoke about inflation. Yeah. But the inflation numbers that we have now, it seems that inflation is slowing down. Are you hoping to double down?
Are you sure that it's slowing down?
I mean, they are hoping that because the CD to dollar rate has decreased from November to now, in January.
Hope. No. Let us be factual. Are you talking about hope or facts? What is the inflation today? Inflation today is 50.4. Yeah, it's going up. So from 40-something, 50, and now it's 0.4. So it's going up. It's never coming down. Yeah. That is what you need to know. Yeah.
So you are not willing to come down any further from 58?
Oh, that one, when we get to the negotiating table, you'll negotiate.
So question is, how much of our pension funds will be affected in the debt exchange program, which is also a prerequisite for labor in all of this? Remember, the salaries are different, but also there's a debt exchange program, and labor is demanding that their pension funds be exempted. But government needs the space to be able to, cut that deal with the IMF. Kofi J is our in-house data analyst. He joins me in the studio. Kofi, you've been looking at the figures. How much really of the pension funds constitutes that, 55 billion that government wants to cut away so that we can have that space to restructure our debt?
Well, as for the space, we really need a space because if you look at the 2023 budget, we are looking at somewhere around 40 billion, more than 40 billion Ghana cedis as deficit.
Okay.
And this is because you have line items like payment of interest and then also compensation of employees that even labor is asking for an increase in their base pay.
And it's interesting because as we speak, they've still not come to a conclusion on how much.
Because last year they went with 25%, government gave them 7%. That is why this year they've actually entrenched their position that they won the 58% because they feel what they got last year was very small. But if you look at the, the touch screen right now or the smart wall, you can actually see the amount actually invested by pension funds into government securities. So we are looking at the 2021 debt reports released by the Finance Ministry.
Right.
So if you look at pensions, including, SNIT, we are looking at somewhere around 2.32 billion Ghana cedis.
Right.
Now, this includes ESLA bonds and Dachi bonds. We are looking at just two. This as of 2021. So we are anticipating that this figure will even be more than the 2.32 billion that we are seeing here.
Yes.
This is the money of pension, pension money actually invested in government securities called bonds, ESLA bonds, and Dachi bonds. And they will need this money to be paid back. And they wouldn't want this money to actually go through a restructuring. So if you look at the next slide, we're looking at, the ESLA bonds, for instance. Look at the domestic components, about 8.69 billion Ghana cedis.
Okay.
And pension funds is about 1.83 billion.
Okay.
And NSS 21% of domestic holders of the ESLA bonds.
Right.
And so this money is so huge to the extent that if you compare it to the total domestic sector holding government securities, about 21%.
21%.
Now, if you look at the Dachi bonds, for example, it is 2.45 billion currently in terms of domestic sector holdings, and SNIT pensions, pensions including SNIT, is around 485.4 million Ghana cedis, and this is 19.8%. So if they look at all these monies and government wants to do a restructuring, they can actually see that they will lose greatly because the money is very significant. And so we've been tracking, talking about external debt restructuring, for instance. Okay. We've been tracking, Ghana's Eurobond, payment or maturities in the next 10 years. What does the picture look like for Ghana? Why do we need an external debt restructuring so bad? If you look at Eurobond, loans that we've taken in the next 10 years, although the outstanding Eurobond is about $13.3 billion, government is expected to pay close to $7.85 billion in the next 10 years. Right. Now, and in the next 10 years, of these 7.85 billion that we're talking about, about 43% of them is supposed to be paid in the next 5 years. Okay. So we're looking at, some $148.8 million in, 2023. Then we also have some $525 million in 2025. Then from 2026, you can see that we'll be paying so much.
1.25 in 2026, 1 billion in also 2026. 750 million
2027.
Okay, another 1 billion and another 1 billion 900 and
absolutely. If you add all of this, about $7.85 billion. Now you're looking for 3 billion from the IMF.
Yeah.
And you are going to pay 7.85 billion in the next 10 years. It means the amount you're looking for from the IMF is actually more than 2 times smaller than how much you're supposed to settle as your, And we pay close to $1.7 billion every year. If you look at from 2018 to 2020, how much we pay so far, we pay $1.7 billion every year on the average to settle interest payments alone. If you add principal, then we are hovering around 2.4 billion. So we need the space that you spoke about when we were actually about to start this conversation. We need this space.
So I guess the question with the pension funds is, can government really afford to exempt pension funds in this debt exchange program?
Well,
and what would that mean for the IMF?
Looking at the figures,
every city is important.
But every dollar is also important.
It's really a tough one for government.
Very tough.
But we have an external debt exchange program also underway. The investors have called for transparency and fairness in the process today. We saw the statement that was released. But how much are we looking to save as far as that program is also concerned?
Also, Ernest, if you look at the 2023 budget, we budgeted for close to 21 billion Ghana cedis. And if I should use today's rates, about $2.6 billion. That's interest payments alone on our external loans in 2023. 2.6 billion NS. It's more than 50% of the money we are looking from the IMF. 3 billion from the IMF and 21 billion Ghana cedis, about 2.6 billion, dollars right now. And that is, like about 80% of how much you're looking for from the IMF. Right. So IMF wouldn't want to give you the money and expect that you use the money to pay, interest on your loans. They want to see the money being used for judicious use. So they wouldn't allow you to use that money.
Definitely, government would have to engage more, and we'll see how this pans out. Kofi, thank you very much, as always, for helping us understand the figures. And